He said it didn't mean anything. But that night, when his hand found mine under the blanket, he held it like he'd been waiting his whole life. My heart already knew the truth before he spoke. He loved me. He just couldn't say it out loud, not with my brother asleep just a few feet away. Welcome to my channel. Today's story is about the boy I was never supposed to love, my brother's best friend. I never planned to fall for Camden. He was the kind of guy who made everything look effortless, smirking through math class, catching football passes like he was born for it. He was always around because he'd been my brother Beau's best friend since middle school. At first, that was all he was, Beau's loud, cocky, messy best friend. The one who left Doritos crumbs on the couch and barged into our house without knocking. But last summer, something shifted. Suddenly, there was a strange quiet between us. He stopped treating me like Beau's annoying little brother. He started seeing me, not as a joke, not invisible, but as someone he couldn't ignore. I remember the exact moment everything changed. It was July at Lake Crescent. Just me, Beau, and Camden. My parents were away in Chicago, so we spent the weekend at our family cabin. That night, Beau passed out early, headphones still on. Camden and I stayed up, half watching an old horror movie. The room glowed with the soft blue light of the screen. Then, between a cheap jump scare and cracking open another soda, he said it. "You're not like how I remember you." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He gave a small smile. "You're older now, different, quieter, in a good way. You don't try so hard anymore." My heart flipped. This was Camden. Camden, who only ever joked around. Camden, who dated cheerleaders like it was a schedule. He wasn't supposed to be someone I could ever feel this way about. But I did. When our fingers brushed under the blanket, he didn't pull away. He held on tight like it was the only thing keeping him steady. Neither of us spoke. The TV hummed. Both snored softly in the next bed. And still, we sat there, fingers tangled, pretending not to feel the electricity sparking between us. My heart pounded, but I wasn't afraid. For the first time, I felt seen. The next morning, it was like nothing happened. He didn't mention it, didn't look at me differently, didn't touch me. I convinced myself I imagined it. Maybe I wanted it so badly I made it up. 2 days later, when we got home, he texted me. Just one line. That night meant something. I stared at my screen for hours. I didn't answer, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. This wasn't a random crush. This was Camden, my brother's best friend, the one person who was never supposed to see me that way. And I didn't know if that message was the start of something, or the biggest mistake of my life. The next few weeks blurred together. Sometimes late at night, he'd send short texts. "I keep thinking about you. I can't stop replaying that moment. I don't know what this means." I didn't know either. All I knew was I felt everything, and it terrified me. At school, he was Camden, the football guy, loud, flirty, normal. But in those quiet moments when Beau wasn't looking, his eyes found mine, trying to say everything he couldn't put into words. I hated that I lived for those stolen looks. Walking into the kitchen, seeing him with Beau, my whole body would tense, waiting for his eyes to meet mine. Not because I was scared he'd ignore me, but because I was scared he wouldn't. I tried to act normal, to pretend nothing had changed. But every time he came over, every time he sat too close or brushed his fingers against mine while pretending to grab the remote, my world tilted. I knew we were heading toward something we couldn't undo, and I didn't know if I wanted to stop it, or if I even could. There's a kind of tension that buries itself in your chest and refuses to leave, like a knot you can't untie. That's what being around Camden became. The more I tried to ignore it, the heavier it got. Pretending we were just two ordinary people in the same room didn't erase what had already happened. Because once you've held someone's hand in the dark, you can't pretend you don't know how it feels. 2 weeks after the cabin, Camden's texts slowed. Not gone entirely, just less frequent. One day became 3, then 5, and finally silence. I told myself it was better this way. Maybe he realized it was just a one-time thing, some late-night confusion. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he was scared Beau would find out. Or maybe it had never been serious at all. I tried to delete the messages. I couldn't. Then one afternoon, I walked into the house and found him sitting on the kitchen counter, laughing at something on Beau's phone like nothing had happened. He looked up mid-laugh. For half a second his smile faltered, but I saw it. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. He nodded at me like I was some random kid from school. "Hey, man!" That's all he said. I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned to go upstairs, pretending I didn't care. But then I heard him behind me, voice lower, softer. "Leo, can we talk?" I stopped. My heart froze. Beau had already slipped into the garage. Camden stood there, eyes flicking to the door, then back at me. I followed him outside. The air was still, the sun too bright. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt that way. He didn't speak at first. Just shoved his hands into his hoodie and stared at the grass. "I've been thinking a lot," he muttered. "About what we did. About what we're doing." He exhaled hard. "This is all messed up, man." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Because of my brother. Because of everything," he nodded. "You, me, him. People talk. People assume. My dad would flip if he knew I was even—" He stopped. Didn't need to finish. If his dad knew he was into guys. If he knew he was into me. Finally, Camden looked up. "The thing is, I think about that night every damn day. Like it's stuck in my head. I've never felt anything like that before. And it scares the hell out of me." There it was, real, messy, unfiltered honesty. I swallowed. "I don't want to be your secret, Cam." He flinched. "I'm not trying to make you one." "Yeah, but that's exactly what this is. We only talk when no one's around. We touch when no one's looking. And the second my brother walks in, I don't even exist to you." He stepped closer. "That's not true." "It feels true," I said. Silence. His jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to punch something or break down completely. "I just don't know how to do this, Leo. I don't know how to be this version of me in front of people. I've spent years pretending to be someone else, and you make it impossible to keep pretending." That line hit me like a brick. We didn't touch that day, didn't hug, didn't kiss, but I saw the war in his eyes. One part of him wanted to run. The other part, already halfway in love with me. A few days later, Beau's birthday came around. Big party. Music too loud. People everywhere. Living room packed. I stayed on the edge, drink in hand, watching Camden joke with the other football guys. He hadn't looked at me all night. Not once, and then it happened. A girl, Diana, I think, wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him right there in the middle of the room. It hit me like a gut punch. And the worst part? He didn't push her away. He didn't kiss her back either. He just let it happen. I just stood there like an idiot, clutching my plastic cup, trying not to fall apart. I left early, didn't even say goodbye. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. "Camden, come outside." I looked out the window. His car sat across the street, headlights off. I didn't want to go, but of course I did. I slid into the passenger seat. The car smelled like spearmint and sweat. He looked wrecked. "I didn't kiss her back," he said quickly. I didn't. She did it out of nowhere. It didn't mean anything. My voice was tight. "Yeah, well, neither did we, right?" His face twisted. "Leo, don't do that." "Why not?" "It's what you've been doing for weeks, pretending it never happened." He slammed his hands against the steering wheel. "Because I'm scared, okay? I'm scared of what this means. I'm scared of losing Beau, of losing everything." I went quiet for a long second, then looked him straight in the eye. "You're scared of losing everything. But I've been scared of never having anything real at all." He didn't reply, just stared straight ahead. And when I opened the door to leave, he reached for my hand and didn't let go. There's only so long you can live in hiding before the walls start closing in. And for me and Camden, those walls pressed tighter every single day. After the party, something shifted. He didn't kiss me, didn't even try, but he stopped pretending. When he came over, he'd actually talk to me. Really talk. Ask about my day, not in passing, but like he cared. He'd linger in the kitchen when Beau wasn't around, brush my shoulder when he walked by. He was still careful, but no longer invisible. And for a while, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. Then one Saturday afternoon, everything began to unravel. Bo was in the garage working on his old Mustang. Camden and I were inside, watching a muted game, sitting too close on the couch. Our knees brushed a few times. Neither of us moved. We were laughing at some ridiculous commercial when Bo walked in to grab water. He paused. His eyes flicked from me to Camden to the couch and then back to me. "What's so funny?" His voice was light, but something in his face wasn't. Camden straightened. "Just this dumb pizza ad. Guy puts pineapple on a steak." Bo smirked, grabbed his bottle, and headed back toward the garage. But before disappearing, he glanced back at me for just a second, and I felt it. That flicker of suspicion. That quiet what if. That night, Camden texted me, "Did he seem off to you?" My heart pounded. I typed, deleted, typed again, and finally sent, "Yeah, he knows something." "What do we do?" he asked. I didn't answer, because the truth was, I had no idea. The next few days were strange. Bo was still Bo, joking, raiding the fridge, gaming until 2 a.m., but every time Camden walked into the room, something in my brother's face changed. He watched more, spoke less. And one night when I came downstairs for water, I heard them on the porch. Their voices were low, serious. "Bo, you've been distant lately. You good?" Camden. "Yeah, just stress. School, football, right?" Pause, Bo. "That it?" Another pause, longer this time. Camden. "What else would it be?" Bo, "I don't know." "You tell me." Something inside me dropped. I crept back upstairs before they noticed. I couldn't sleep that night. My chest was tight. My thoughts wouldn't stop spinning. What if Bo knew? What if he confronted me? What if he told our parents? At 2:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. Camden. "Can't sleep." Me. "Same. You okay?" Camden. "No." A beat later. "Meet me." 10 minutes. "Your back fence." I threw on a hoodie and slipped outside. He was already there, leaning against the fence, looking like he had 1,000 words stuck in his throat. We didn't talk at first. Just stood there in the dark. His shoulders were heavy, his eyes tired. "I can't keep doing this," he finally said. I held my breath. "Not like this. Not hiding. Not jumping every time your brother looks at us too long. I want to be able to look at you when people are around, to talk to you without my voice shaking." I swallowed hard. "Then what are you saying?" He stepped closer, voice cracking. "I'm saying I'm ready to stop pretending. But if we do this, I need you to be all in too." I nodded slowly. "I already am." He exhaled, like those words were oxygen. And then finally he kissed me. Really kissed me, not in the dark. Not hidden under a blanket. But right there beneath the stars, with crickets singing and wind pushing through the trees, while the world spun on around us. For a moment, it felt like it belonged to us, but peace never lasts, not when secrets are about to break. 2 days later, Bo found my sketchbook. The one I always kept buried deep in the bottom drawer. But I'd left it out just once. That morning I'd been sketching, a quick drawing of Camden. Just his face, half-finished, shaded, personal. I forgot to put it away. Bo found it while searching for a charger. I walked in and saw him holding it, staring at the page, expression unreadable. "Is this Camden?" My mouth went dry. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He looked at me. Really looked. And I felt everything I'd been terrified of reflected back at me. Hurt, shock, confusion, betrayal. "Are you with him?" The silence said everything. Bo's voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. Somehow that made it worse. Quiet, wounded, like the question had already answered itself the second it left his mouth. I couldn't lie. Not anymore. I didn't say yes, but I didn't deny it either. I just stood there frozen, throat dry, hands trembling. He held my sketchbook like it was something he wished he'd never touched. His eyes dropped back to the drawing. He brushed his thumb across the page like he could erase the truth with enough pressure. Since when? His voice cracked. Since the lake. He blinked, then looked at me again. That long? I nodded. And you didn't think I deserved to know? That stung. Part of me had wanted to tell him so many times, but I knew this moment would look exactly like it did now. A mess of guilt, shame, and disappointment. You're my brother, Bo, and he's your best friend. What was I supposed to do? Just say, but hey, by the way, I'm falling for the guy you basically grew up with. His jaw clenched. You should have trusted me. It landed like a punch. He was right. But what he didn't understand was, I barely trusted myself most days. How could I expect him to carry something I wasn't even strong enough to carry alone? He handed me back the sketchbook and left the room without another word. I didn't see him for the rest of the night. Not at dinner. Not even the next morning. But Camden showed up early, unannounced, before school. I was sitting on the porch step, sipping cold coffee, heart still racing from the night before. He walked up, hoodie on, hands in his pockets. He knows. I nodded. Yeah, what did he say? Nothing. That was the worst part. Camden sat beside me, close but not touching. Do you regret it? I looked over at him. His face was pale, tired. His eyes red like he hadn't slept either. No, I don't regret you. He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for weeks. Leo. Then he reached for my hand. Right there in daylight, no hiding. No glancing over his shoulder. Just his hand in mine. I didn't pull away. I didn't care who might be watching. For once, I didn't care. That afternoon, Bo came home early. Camden was still over, helping me rearrange my shelves so I could finally hang my sketches. We froze when Bo walked in. Camden stepped back instinctively. I hated that. Bo's face was unreadable. Can I talk to you? He looked at Camden. Camden nodded and followed him out to the porch. I watched from the window. It wasn't yelling. Not fists. But it was intense. Bo paced once, then stopped, hands on his hips, grounding himself. Camden said just one thing, one sentence, and Bo's whole body shifted. I stepped outside. What did you say? I asked after Camden walked off. B stood quiet for a moment. He told me. He loves you. My breath caught. He said he didn't plan it. Didn't even understand it at first. But it's real. He wasn't messing with you. Wasn't lying to me. He's just been scared. We stood there in silence. Then Bo looked me dead in the eyes. You know what pisses me off the most? I braced myself. It's not that you're gay. It's not even that it's him. It's that neither of you thought I could handle it. That hurt. My chest tightened. I just didn't want to lose you. His expression softened. You didn't lose me, man, but damn. You made me feel like I didn't matter. That broke me a little. I stepped forward. I'm sorry. I really am. He nodded, swallowing hard. I just need time. Not to be okay with it. I already am. But to wrap my head around the fact that my best friend's in love with my brother. That's new, we half laughed. Awkward, painful, but real. He better not break your heart, Bo added. He already has, I said. Then he better fix it. That night, Camden came back. We sat on the back steps again, knees touching, silence stretching between us. I turned to him. You told him you love me? He looked at me unflinching. Yeah, did you mean it? He smiled. Small, real, soft. I didn't mean to fall for you, Leo. But I did. Hard. I rested my head on his shoulder. And for the first time, nothing about it felt like a secret. After Camden told Bo the truth, something in me shifted. Not just relief. Not just hope. Something deeper. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the floor to drop. We weren't hiding anymore. But that didn't mean life got easier. At school, people talked. In small towns like ours, they don't forget. It started slow. A couple of stares in the hallway. They whispered, "Is that the Blake kid with Camden?" One guy on the football team even asked loud enough for everyone to hear, "So, you switching teams now?" Cam just stared at him. He didn't laugh. Didn't joke it off, just said, "Say it again." I dare you. Nobody said it again, but the silence that followed was just as loud. By the end of that week, Camden stopped getting invited to hangouts. People who used to chant his name every Friday night barely nodded at him. His teammates got awkward in the locker room. He started skipping lunch, eating alone in his truck, and I hated it. I hated that he chose me, and it was costing him everything. One afternoon, we sat in that same truck in the school parking lot. The sun dipped behind the trees, and the world felt like it was holding its breath. He didn't even look at me when he said it. I don't know if I can keep doing this. My chest went tight. You mean us? He shook his head. No, this place, these people, the weight of it all. I thought coming out would be some big moment, like I'd finally feel free. But it just feels like I opened a door and now I'm standing in a storm. I didn't know what to say. Because I saw what he was going through, falling apart in slow motion, and I couldn't stop it. I'm tired, Leo. That sentence nearly broke me. Camden Rhee wasn't the kind of guy who said things like that. He was the one who pushed through everything. Until now. Later that night, Bo knocked on my door. He didn't say much, just walked in and sat on the edge of my bed. You guys okay? I shrugged. Not really. He nodded slowly, then looked at me with something I hadn't seen in his eyes since this all started. Understanding. You know, Cam's always been the one who kept me out of fights. The one who covered for me when I wrecked Mom's car. The guy who sat with me in the hospital when I broke my wrist. He's been more than a best friend. I waited. And if you're the person he's willing to lose everything for, Bo paused, eyes softening, then I guess you're worth it. My throat closed. He's worth it too, I whispered. Bo smiled, small and sad. Then don't let him forget that. The next day was Friday, game night. Even though Camden wasn't starting anymore, he still suited up. Coach had said something about team image, about avoiding distractions, but Camden showed up anyway. He laced his cleats, stood on the sideline, and didn't say a word. At halftime, the team was losing. The quarterback had sprained his ankle. The crowd was tense. Coach looked out of options. That's when Camden stepped forward. Put me in. Coach hesitated. You sure? Camden met his eyes. I'm not quitting just because people are uncomfortable. Coach nodded once. All right, go. When he ran onto the field, the stadium went dead quiet. Not because he wasn't good, not because he wasn't ready, but because they didn't know what to do with him anymore. Camden had changed, but he didn't flinch. He played like fire lived in his blood. Second throw, a 40-yard pass. Next drive, he ran it in himself. Slowly, the crowd started to roar again, like they had to remember how electric he was, how alive, how much he belonged. When he scored the final touchdown, he didn't raise his arms, didn't pound his chest. He looked up at the bleachers, like right at me, and smiled. It wasn't for them. It was for me. After the game, I waited by the back gate near the locker rooms. He walked out, helmet under one arm, sweat dripping down his neck. Before I could say a word, he dropped his gear and wrapped his arms around me. Right there, in the open. No hesitation. No fear. I heard a few people gasp. A couple clapped. One guy even shouted, "Let's go, Rhee!" But I didn't care. Because in that moment, he chose me. Not in secret. Not in the dark. But in front of the whole damn world. Later, as we sat on the tailgate of Bo's truck, his head resting on my shoulder, I whispered, "That was brave." He smiled. So were you. You didn't run. I would have if you hadn't grabbed my hand first. He laced his fingers with mine. Then I'm never letting go. Some stories don't end with fireworks. They end with peace. Soft mornings. No more hiding, and that's exactly what being with Camden became. Peace. After the game, things didn't magically get better. Not overnight. But everything changed that night anyway. Because when he held me in front of everyone, fearless, he gave people permission to stop pretending too. Some still whispered, some still stared, but others didn't, and that was enough. My parents took it better than I expected. Way better than Camden's. My mom cried a little, not because she was upset, but because she was scared for me. "Are you happy?" she asked. I nodded. "Then nothing else matters." My dad didn't say much, but later that night, he came into my room, ruffled my hair, and said, "Cam's always been like a second son. Guess now he really is." That stuck with me. Camden's family wasn't the same. His dad stopped talking to him, telling him to figure his life out, to stop embarrassing the name. His mom tried to play both sides, loving but silent, like she couldn't choose between her son and her husband. That broke him a little. He stopped sleeping, stopped smiling. Until one night, I found him in my driveway at 1:20 a.m., hoodie soaked from the rain, standing like he had nowhere else to go. I pulled him inside, dried his hair with a towel, wrapped him in a blanket. He sat on the couch, head down, voice shaking. "Why is this so hard, Leo? Why does it feel like I'm paying for something that should be good?" I sat beside him. Didn't answer right away. Then I whispered, "Because some people fear what they don't understand. But we're not here to make them comfortable. We're here to live." His eyes welled up. "I'm so damn tired of apologizing for who I am." I touched his face gently. "You don't owe anyone anything." That night, he fell asleep in my arms. And when I looked down at him, messy, quiet, fragile, I realized I'd never loved someone like that before. Not just the good parts, but the broken corners, the weight they carried when no one else was watching. Bo came around more than I expected. He'd bring food, crash on the couch during movie nights, sometimes sit beside Cam and ask about school like nothing had changed. One night I asked him, "Why? Why are you being so cool about this now?" He shrugged, sipping his drink. "Because I know who Camden is. I know he's not using you. I know he'd take a hit for you before he let you fall. And because I trust you both." He paused, then smirked. "Also, it's hilarious watching the guy who used to flirt with anything in a skirt practically melt every time you walk into a room." I laughed. So did Cam. Graduation came fast. We walked the stage, threw our caps high. Camden kissed me behind the gym afterward, still in his gown, grinning like a little kid. "You know what I want?" he whispered. "What?" "A future that doesn't feel like hiding, so we made a plan." Cam got into a college 2 hours away. I wasn't far behind. We didn't move in together right away. We gave ourselves space to grow, to breathe, but we stayed close. Shared weekends, coffee, old diners, slow Sunday mornings in his dorm bed with tangled sheets and no alarms. We kept sketchbooks. Mine was full of him, half-drawn smiles, lazy eyes, freckled shoulders. His was full of words. Camden had never written before, but now he did. Messy letters, late-night thoughts, little moments he didn't want to forget. One entry read, "He fell asleep on my chest tonight. I could feel his breath slow. I used to think love was loud and wild, but now I know sometimes it's just quiet. Safe, like the world finally stopped spinning." I cried when I read that one. One summer night, back at the lake where it all began, we lay on the dock staring at the stars. The water lapped gently beneath us. The same sky, but everything had changed. Cam turned to me. "Do you ever wish we could go back?" I thought about it. All the fear, all the pain, all the almost. Then I shook my head. "No, because back then we were pretending. Now we're real," he smiled softly. "I like real." And in that moment, his hand in mine, summer air around us, stars above, peace inside, I finally understood what that meant. I knew he was never just my brother's best friend. He was my first love, my safe place, my choice, and I would choose him again. Every time. I didn't plan to fall for him, but I would do it again in every lifetime. If you made it this far, thank you. Please subscribe for more real stories like this one. You being here means everything, love.